Viper versus Thijs, our first match that's coming up, is we're going to unpack the deck list here in a second and delve a little bit deeper into what we expected to, who we think has the edge here and so on and so forth. The match to me really, though, is about the consistency of Thijs throughout his entirety of his career versus Viper and his fantastic performance this year as we take a look at Thijs' deck. So talking about that game plan, what are you looking at here for Viper? What's like the major go-to package that you really want to have in this matchup?
Well, like I was saying, for the Rogue, against the Mage, you've got to be careful about going too wide on board because they have Rabble Bouncers and Sea Giants in their deck, in which case Lackey becomes slightly less powerful than it is in some of the other matchups, or Lackey's and the Evil Miscreant. And obviously, if he'd got himself a deckhand off of this raiding party, he could have then gone deckhand Miscreant on the following turn, which had to be part of his thought process. But with the double Dread Corsair, he can't even fit in anything in addition to whatever else he wants to spend his mana on this turn, which looks like it will probably end up being a Walk the Plank.
It'd be tough for me to imagine it's not Walk the Plank here.
And I have to say, I know this might sound absurd. If Thijs didn't have the second Mountain Giant in hand, do you think he ever would have gone Coin Ping on his initial Giant to play around the Walk the Plank so that it's damaged?
Well, that is an interesting thought. I mean, we've seen Thijs ping his own stuff before.
That's true. He is very famous for that. But I guess when he got a hand that is just this absolutely juicy, you don't need to be messing around with silly plays like that. You can just throw down your biggest stuff every single turn and then just rejoice at the fact that Viper really has found nothing this game.
Yeah, the lack of early aggression here now you're seeing is, massively a detriment to Viper at this point. It wasn't because he couldn't work on life total. It's because he doesn't have anything on board to fight. If you had stuff in play right now, a backstab and a pair of eviscerates, probably enough to clear out this board and start to strand Thijs again with these Conjurer's Callings.
Which obviously comes in the form of Betrayal. Could be something that messes up his game plan.
Straight up damage. The Betrayal thing is interesting because the Sorcerer's Apprentice could it have been positioned differently here? Could be between a Mountain Giant and a Grave Harbor right now?
Had to have played it after one of the Conjurer's Callings, I think. So
if you play on the right side, I think you're right.
Yeah, nothing. It's an interesting thought, though.
Well, the first one provides nothing. The second one provides a preparation, which I don't think is enough to stay alive.
Yeah, I mean, you can play the Myras if you pick Prep, but, that really isn't going to be getting the job done here.
So
I don't
Prep, Eviscerate, Backstab, that's 6 plus the... Yeah, not enough.
I give up.
Yeah, Thijs. Quick game number 1, but that's exactly what Conjurer's Callings will do. It is cube and activate on a stick.
It's an interesting way of looking at it.
So here, just take your damage.
Yep, I can definitely agree with that, because it looks at the moment like we've got a pretty straightforward plan here of just SI7 Agent into the Waggle Pick, just keep on hitting your opponent.
Whoa!
Thijs here. Even though, as you said, this indicates that there's a Waggle Pick in his opponent's hand, he just wants to get stats on board.
I think I like this from Thijs, and the reason why I personally like it is because Viper's not on coin. And so what that means is, tempo SI7 Agent plays, or what have you, they just don't work.
Yep.
And so here, Viper was interested in using the preparation for the Evil Miscreant anyway, but he expends an Eviscerate to kill an Acidic Swamp Ooze, so that way he cannot make headway on Viper's board. So I think the Ooze here from Thijs is really smart because A, he's got Harrison Jones, but B, he's got 2 copies of Mirror Image to soak up weapon attacks as well. That's effectively destroying a weapon a lot of times.
And I think another big reason of why Thijs played it is it absolutely sabotages the Hench Clan Thug opener. Because if your opponent daggers on 2 and then plays it, the Ooze perfectly trades with a 3/3 Miscreant, but obviously wouldn't trade with a 4/4 version. So I think overall, that's a really good spot from Thijs. But it does look like it's queuing up Thijs here to just very, very happily go for a big old Conjurers.
Perhaps that's something that you're happy.
Surprise!
It does not actually duplicate the minion in play. You just get 2 random 5-cost minions from that Conjurer's Calling. It happening to be a Harrison Jones that's something.
Hilarious. Comedy gold.
Yep, and then the Double Mirror Image plus the Mana Cyclone, and I feel like Viper is in tough shape now.
Thankfully, to deal with these mirror images, though, he has that Betrayal to...
Look at the presence of mind to play around Betrayal as well.
That's true. Good point, yeah.
But Viper's just kind of getting pushed out of the game by 5-cost minions at this point.
I think I'm with Viper on this one. I think you just want to keep cycling through your deck, get through to those good cards. But like you said, at the moment, he's not being blown out like he was last game by some huge giant play. He's just losing on board. He's just tempoing out.
Nice pickup.
Very nice.
Viper dislikes the position here, and knowing Viper, he has a lot of expertise with Rogue, and he will hold himself to a very high standard. I actually remember talking with him about this at the World Championships, where he was very decisively winning a game, and he had missed a play where he was like, well, I could have made my questing adventure an 8-8. And it being an 8-8 was the difference between snowballing the game and not snowballing it. And it was at 7-7 instead. He actually put himself in a position where the right combination of cards in the opponent could put him in a position to lose. I'm curious what he spots here that would have been any different, because this looked pretty fantastic to me.
Yeah. As in, he thinks he made a misplay.
Yes.
Well, I mean, look at it. Hunter Ace and Viper are two of the most self-critical players I know. And look at it. They both ended up in the World Championship finals.
Big bad Archmage off the Conjurer's Calling, and Viper is not happy about it.
I'm not sure if "oh boy" is a general exclamation or trying to get me to pay attention and calling me boy. I'm kind of here for either.
Oh! 12 taunt gets picked up from it.
You gotta laugh at that. You gotta laugh that one off.
Unity.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even think that you could do that.
Well, something to note here, though, is you mentioned the play last game of ping your own minion to keep it, not vulnerable to walk the plank.
Okay.
In this situation, though, Thijs's game plan, because he has Pyroblast in hand, was just to set Viper to 10. And that plan has now been accomplished. If Thijs does not lose in the next 3 turns, in his mind, he's basically just won the game.
Yes.
The problem with the second walk plank is it's just not really getting the job done. There's still 2 5-2s on board that are not getting touched. Make that 1 5-2, but now you're going to 5.
Yeah. He's very, very, very low on health indeed. But finally, Viper has managed to clear this board, which, to be honest, I did not anticipate he would be able to do this whole game. And he's got the heal as well. Double Life Drinker does get him up to 11.
And hero power gets a
Okay.
out of 10.
Well,
I look back to that Harrison turn. I think Viper's hand was just too weak to justify the long-term play that he had decided to go for.
yeah. I'm going to have to settle into these kind of plays where I start nitpicking, because this is the best players in the world. You have to critique their play at the absolute highest level. If they're not playing perfectly, we're going to try and pick them up on it, because their opponents will be. A lot of the time. It was so tempting, though. You can totally see his position of, the betrayal can be so nutty in this matchup, but it was just a very unfortunate instance. There was the Conjurer's Call in his opponent's hand. And as we can see here, Thijs just kind of dotting the I's and crossing the T's here. That's nowhere near enough heal to pull Viper out of this one, even if there wasn't a Pyroblast in hand.
What's the weirdest thing that can happen that works? Well, if there's anything, it's 2 spell lackeys that can do it.
A step. Let's try again.
You got to think through, what is it, though? What does the job? Look, if you're in Viper's position, if you assume Thijs has Pyroblast, is there anything that does it? I don't think
no.
there is.
You just assume he has no burn in hand.
Counterspell?
How do you even get Counterspell? Probably his out. Oh, wait, he's got a prep active. Sorry. Oh, he's got a prep active right now, so he wouldn't want to play.
Yeah, but this is effectively the same thing. He needs the advantage right here.
Okay, yeah, this was the right way to do it then.
Viper trying his absolute hardest, fighting tooth and nail, but just fell too far behind in tempo at the end of the day. Thijs is going to take a 2-0 in the first European Hearthstone Grandmasters match, and in very convincing fashion at that. A Pyroblast to end. A nod to the old days.
What a way to close things out. Beating the runner-up of this year's Hearthstone World Championship by Pyroblasting him in the face. And you've got to give it to Thijs. It's a pretty bold pick to go for this Mana Cyclone Mage so early on in the Grandmasters League, rather than one of the slightly more safe picks like Bomb Warrior or the Tempo Rogue. But it's working out fantastically for him so far.
Yeah, this was, again, pretty convincing fashion. I like the way that it's built, where he's considered anti-rogue in the first game. I think that was the deck that most people had their sights set on, was how do I defeat this deck? And if you look at his side decks, he's got a Hexlord Malacrast, 2 Astromancers, Archmage Antonidas, and a Stargazer Luna in the tertiary deck to try to fight against Warrior. So I think he's actually got a pretty solid game plan there, with just so much extra value packed at the top end. And even in the mirror match, his secondary deck would have 2